Hello, welcome to Jazz Is
Jazz's
MasterClass series
at the National Jazz Museum.
At the National Jazz Museum in Harlem.
I am Sekou McMillan, the curator of special projects.
My name is Albert Marquez, Zach O'Farrell.
My name is Shirazette Titten.
And we are in conversation with the legendary Bertha Hope. Jazz could only have happened here in America.
The key to everything was the radio.
So this world is too dense. 15 minutes isn't enough to cover it all.
Are you ready? I am.
So I put together a women's band that was very, very good. And
What was the name of the group?
it was called Jazzberry Jam.
So, Life After Hope, 1967. What a difficult time for you.
Very difficult, yeah. In fact, I was really, really very disillusioned, heartbroken, and it was hard for me to kind of reestablish what I was going to do with my life. So actually, I made a decision that I wasn't going to stay in the music business anymore. And I gave away my piano. I moved from the Bronx to the Lower East Side, trying to just get away from memories. I just started all over again to reestablish what exactly what I was going to do. Was I going to remain teaching, or if I was going to play again? When I gave away the piano, I think I made that decision. The person I gave it to said, he had a big loft-like kind of space, and he said, you're going through a phase. It's understandable, where you are. He said, one day you're going to call me back, and you're going to say, do you have my piano? And he said to me, he was a musician, he was a drummer, a very lovely person. And he said, and your piano will be right here. He said, I'm going to tell you I'm going to give free lessons to the community kids on it. But when you call me up and tell me that you want it, you just tell me where to bring it. And I said, yeah, okay, all right. I don't think so. He said, trust me. He said, you're going through a phase and it will end. So I just sort of put that in the back of my head. I thought, what a wonderful guy that he's going to teach. And the piano will be useful in a very meaningful way. And then I went back to teaching. Now I'm living on the Lower East Side and traveling up to the Upper West Side to teach. And then one day it was, I got in touch with a cousin of mine, and as a little side business, we started sewing. We were making clothes, we were making dashikis. People were still in that era. And we had all these clothes, and we didn't know what we were going to do with them, because it was kind of therapy, that we were crocheting and knitting and sewing. And then all of a sudden we looked around and we had all these things. We said, what are we going to do with them? So she found a little shop in the Bronx, and we had a little shop while I was still going through all of this. So that was a little side business, but I was still teaching. And then one day I just said, I love teaching, but I have to really make up my mind what I'm gonna, this music was still gnawing at me. And so then I just decided that I had to really face myself and decide if I was going to play again or not. And when I did make that decision, I just sort of made it quickly before I would decide against it. And I took my phone book and I called up everybody, all the musicians that I knew who said, well, you know, if you're ever free to travel or to rehearse, call me. Because that I was not able to do. I wasn't able to travel. I wasn't free during the day for rehearsals or any kind of work. So as soon as I made up my mind, I just called up everybody. And the first person that answered was a big band director by the name of Kit McClure, who had a big a women's band, and it was sort of a club date band, weddings and all sorts. They played all sorts of gigs, and they traveled all through the tri-state area, and they traveled to Europe and Japan, and were active in the union, so the wages were really good. And she had a full book, like 60, 70 engagements, you know, just booked, already booked. And so I joined that band. That was like around 82. So I taught from 69 to 82 and I went back to school during that period, got my degree. And in 1982, I decided that I was going to be a full-time musician. And I recorded with that band. That band was a precursor to the Diva Orchestra that exists today. All the musicians that were in that band had gone through Kit McClure's band. It was a very solid band. And I stayed with them for about 3 years, off and on. We would, I did the Japanese tour with her, and then it was some time before we did anything else out of the country, but I worked with them for a good 2, maybe 3 years. And then I started to meet other women. I started to meet other musicians, and here I am.
And then around 1987, you decide to do your own band.
Yes. I had met a drummer who was, and these were all women. I have to say that at some point in there, a woman named Chloe Narita decided to introduce all the women that she knew because she was working already in the jazz field with men and actually helping to keep Black musicians afloat. And by creating spaces for them to play. And she introduced all the women in New York that she knew to each other. And it was just a revelation that there were all these women who were hidden in men's bands and who have been psyched into believing they had to have men's approval before they could be recognized, you know. And I mean, that really does exist. It's if you don't have that, you just, you know, make it. All these women that say, well, I didn't go through that because I was so good. They're very rare. So I put together a women's band that was very, very good. And
What was the name of the group?
it was called Jazzberry Jam. And then we found out that there were hundreds of groups called Jazzberry Jam. We didn't patent it. It's too bad that we didn't. But we worked all over the tri. This woman, Kobe Narita, put us into places all over the tri-state. So we did a lot of college campuses. We did Amherst and we did the colleges in New York City. We did, she created a space of her own. She bought a building down on Lafayette Street when it was undeveloped. It was still a lot of loss, but it was dark and scary. And she hired a musician to stand at the subway station and meet women, like maybe single women who were coming to the club, to walk them to the club, because a lot of people didn't want to come because it was so undeveloped and scary down there at that point. So she was very influential in putting women together and helping them sustain themselves. So I had that band from 87 through the 90s. And then the band disbanded, broke up. But we had about 15 years, I think.
Long time.
And then I put together another band to play. I married Walter Booker, who was a bass player, who saw Elmo Hope's music as something that needed to really be heard. And he came out of the Cannonball Adderley tradition, sort of like soul jazz, but he also played with Sarah Vaughan and all of the singers, Carmen McRae, and he worked with Stan Getz. He was really very influential in helping me meet other musicians. And it just happened that he knew of Elmo's music, but never had an opportunity to really play it. And so he helped me put together a band that I called Elmollennium, which was established in 2000. So that's why I named it Elmollennium. And I still do concerts now under the Elmo Hope Repertory Band. He would have been 100 last year, so all last year the jobs that I had all over were dedicated to him. And so the band, today's band still exists. And in fact, we just played Minton's last night, Friday night. And we're playing in the New York area right now. Looking forward to doing some college campuses so that this music gets a little wider recognition.